The Lonely Cottage in the Woods, a fairy tale-inspired fanfiction based on the Miraculous Ladybug series. Have you ever crossed paths with the mysterious cottage in the woods? Some say, within the darkness that greets the eye, there lives a monster that guards it, with the body of a leopard and the head of a serpent, forever shadowing the truth left unfolded. Others say there is an inky, black lake, no different from a starless sky, where setting foot into it would mean never once real. The murkiness would consume you with every step you took, the bone-chilling breeze seeping into the skin. The silhouette that surrounded the path would peer in, its hollow eyes never cast away. The leaves yet to fall would whisper your name and tell you to beware. But the lives brave enough to tread across the forest of trees with eyes and cackling leaves under every step will know the true magic deep within. A witch with the power to bless or curse the people she saw fit. And with her lives a creature as dark as coal, with eyes that glow brighter than sorcery itself. And those courageous souls will know her true heart, a heart that guides the voices that cry for help to the light at the depth of it all. But such souls are yet to be met. Deep within the woods that nobody dared to explore lived a witch, one that was feared by all for the powers she possessed. Wearing an inky black cloak and a worn pointy hat that covered her midnight locks, Marinette was once a gifted healer, until she had to flee for her life from the kingdom she'd once called home, for the magical gifts she possessed during the great purge led by a ruthless tyrant. She had run blindly for what had seemed like an eternity until into view came a cottage that, despite being fragile and worse for wear, stood stronger than that tyrannical castle. And in this cottage she now knew to be her heart. She'd found a little creature with glowing emerald orbs and a shiny black coat of fur, her only companion, whose little purrs always brightened her day whenever she was with him. When it came to her magic, Marinette's abilities shone brightest in the craft of potion brewery. Inherited from her mother, she'd started learning at the age of 10, and 12 long years of practice later, here she stood. Her skills were indeed beyond compare, and the talk of the kingdom before all had become chaos. After having lost her parents in that war, and with nowhere left to go, Marinette now sat alone with no one to call family or friend, except for a certain stray. But she never once sought to stop her practice. Who were they to alter her joy with fear? And now, stepping into her cottage meant shelves beyond shelves of bottles that illuminated to the touch, filled to the brim with liquids that could create, destroy, resurrect, possess, and even transform. All right, Chat. You better not cause trouble while I'm gone, understood? Marinette was met with a lazy yawn. She usually had Chat Noir accompany her during herb and ingredient collection, making rounds through the forest on her broomstick and, every so often, letting him run around and play. But today's run was intended to be quick and simple due to the pouring rain this morning. So she decided to let him sleep in the cottage instead. Silly cat, she sighed. She then closed the door, and with a wave of her hand, It bolted shut even though she was aware she would not be long. And thus began her swift but tedious job of correctly identifying the proper herbs from their lookalikes through the foggy woods. Meanwhile, Chat Noir was dozing off in the far corner of the potions room until he heard a chirp from inside the cottage. His ears twitched as he attempted to find the direction of the sound. They led him to the top of one of the many shelves, and he laid eyes on a rather eye-catching bird, a black head and a chest covered with rose-colored feathers. He slowly stood up, taking gentle steps towards the table nearby and smoothly jumping atop it for a better reach. The bird was facing away, an opportune moment to approach which he did. Chat Noir wasted no time. Propelling himself, he raised his claws, aiming for the right moment to strike. However, with millimeters to spare, the bird flew away through the open window, so instead of the perfect strike, Chat hit the wooden shelf frame and fell to the ground. Unlike other cats, Chat Noir did not land on his feet. What was that? That peculiar scent. Chat Noir opened his eyes to see shattered glass near his head, drenched in a violet liquid. Had he fallen asleep? He could not remember doing so. But before he could really process what had just happened, Marinette spoke. "Who are you? How did you get inside?" Chat Noir gave out a meow. Only that was not what came out. His throat rang out a rather clear, lower-pitched grunt. What? What was happening? Marinette raised her hand, beginning to cast a spell when... "Marinette, it's me! Please, don't do anything to me! I neither know you nor know of you, so you better explain." Marinette's eyes widened. His eyes were almost identical to... "Chat Noir? Yes, it's me." Oh, my stars. Well, you're quite the looker, aren't you, kitten? The looker? What on earth are you... Hang on a minute. You understand me? How could I not, Chat? Her nonchalant tone only confused him further. Marinette made her way to the dressing table and picked up her hand mirror and brought it to him. Kneeling to his height, she held up the mirror. "What? Is that me?" So it would seem. Chat Noir sprung up, studying his arms and legs in astonishment. He raised his hand to his cheek, placing his fingers unnervingly upon his dark complexion. His eyes had not changed, but the rest of him could not be more different. "You didn't enchant the mirror, did you?" he asked, a soft chuckle encompassing his words. Marinette sighed. "No, it would appear you spilt the transformation potion onto yourself." Marinette placed the mirror aside and moved closer to Chat's face. "I hadn't tried it out on any creature, so I wasn't completely sure whether it was a success or not. But heaven forbid! It works splendidly." He looked down at his hands. The long, slender fingers and the absence of claws felt peculiar. Slowly, he turned back to Marinette and stood up. She did the same, and they realized. He was a full head taller than her now. Marinette let out a gasp, and Chat didn't have much to say either. This new perspective was so incredibly different to process quick enough. "So, how does the world look from up there?" A giggle escaped her. "I must say, my brain wishes to stand on all fours, yet my body seems to be desperately against that." There was a silence. Also, you look vastly different. Very petite. And, I like that. He responded, averting his eyes away from hers. I see. Marinette blushed at his remark. Well, now that we know the potion I made works, I think it's about time I made the reversing potion as well, is it not? Maybe I could help you with that, if that's all right with you, he suggested bashfully. I'd love that, Shat. As she began working on the potion, Marinette took mental notes on all the ways in which he felt by the cause of this transformation. She'd ask him questions and he'd answer to the best of his ability. They spent what was left of the day concocting the reverse potion. Shat handed her the ingredients from the top shelf every so often. Of course, with a wave of her hand, her required container would appear, but her heart felt warm as he reached the top for what she'd asked for. His company always soothed her. Once it was finally complete, Marinette set the glass bottle aside to sit before putting the brew to the test. Well, I'd say it's about time to head to bed, yeah? Definitely. They both made their way to the bed and lay down next to each other. You know, Shat, Adrian, actually. What? My name. It's Adrian. Marinette remained silent for a moment, trying to process what he'd just said. Oh, how is it that you've got a name? I actually don't remember. I believe it is something I've always had. From the very beginning, I just felt it to be the case. I see. You also seem to be doing well for someone who's been a cat all their life. Shat, Adrian, didn't answer. Instead, he gave a strained smile. Well, I suppose that doesn't matter anymore. Marinette placed a hand on his head, gently combing her fingers through his hair. It was as impeccably soft as his fur had been, if not more so. It's somewhat strange having another human in this house for the first time, Marinette said. Looking into his enchanting gaze, she continued. You were always the one who made me happy. Without you, I don't know what would have happened. He had not expected her to say such words. Taking hold of her hand, Adrian placed a gentle kiss. I feel the same way about you, Marinette. I've always loved being by your side. Of course, you always told me how you were feeling, but I could never do the same, or even tell you that everything would be all right. But now I can. I never wish to leave your side. Ever. Nuzzling his face into her palm, he placed another kiss as he'd frequently done as her chat noir. As they began to doze off, Marinette remembered the concoction. Kitten? Would you like to try out the potion tomorrow? Adrian wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her closer, his forehead pressed against hers. Don't want to. I like holding you this way. Thank you guys so much for listening. This was a fairy tale inspired fanfiction based on the Miraculous Ladybug series. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and comment down below your thoughts and suggestions if you have them. If you'd like to stay tuned for future videos, be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to be notified every time I post. Happy Halloween!